Hello, and welcome to the Radical Fabulatorium. I'm your host, John Adamian. Okay, on this episode, I sit down with Moncton, New Brunswick rock and roll band the Monoxides. So back in 1995, the Monoxides were signed to BMG Music and got to play some pretty cool gigs back in the day with Our Lady Peace and ZZ Top. This interview happened this past August 2023 while they were in St. John playing Second Spin's 20th anniversary show. That's a rad record shop here in St. John. Highly suggest everyone check it out when you're in town. So in this chat, I'm actually talking to them inside their car as we're outside the venue while Frig Dancer is warming up, sound checking. Another cool band from St. John. So yeah, while we're sitting in the car, we kind of talk about their writing process and how it's changed over time, now that they're back and working on a new record. We also talk about the recording process, so how it happened with them in the 90s versus how it happens now. Obviously, things have changed. We reminisce too a little bit about the all-ages scene from back in the day, and maybe it's coming back around now that in the 2020s. It'd be cool to see an all-ages scene reform. They seem to ebb and flow, come and go as years go by. And also their first album, The Galaxy of Stooges, the record that came out on BMG, that's re-released now out on vinyl. So that's pretty cool because back in the 90s, vinyl wasn't really a popular thing like it is again now. So it was hard to come across vinyls in the 90s, and we talk about that too. We also talk about the new songs they're working on because they have a full-length album in the works, which is pretty exciting. Can't wait to hear that. And we also talk a little bit about how St. John has changed and how the Moncton bands influenced the New Brunswick scene back in the 90s when the Monoxides were around, and how the St. John scene influences, well, St. John. So here we go. My chat with Ken and Steve from the Monoxides. The wheels are an important part, you know?
Yeah.
Especially if you're spending time on the road.
Should I put the windows up? Or?
Yeah, sure.
I think we'll leave them down the bed. Don't want to suffocate.
I like to do it a little punk rock, you know, not too worried about it.
Sure. So how long have you been at CFMH?
Since December.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I'm just there part-time.
Now, what is CFMH? Is that...
It's a local FM, the college radio station up at UMB.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty chill.
I forgot there's UMB campus here.
Yeah.
Is it big or like?
No, it's quite small. It would be the smallest one for sure.
Is it like uptown or where is? I don't even know where it is.
It's by the hospital, the regional hospital.
Oh, okay.
So check. Yeah, it's by the regional hospital. It's pretty cool. Like they're like a lot of things. They're trying to bounce back from the pandemic.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool.
I did an interview with the University of Moncton one there a couple months ago, and like it's sad. They've got. It's not like it used to be. Like I don't know. Like I don't think people even really listen to it anymore. It's not like when we grew up, it was a big thing. Yeah. Like we used to listen to the university station. They play the coolest music.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think anybody listens to it. The university doesn't care about it anymore.
Yeah. It's difficult. Like, so like, I don't know how many real listeners we have on the airwaves, but one thing I've been trying to do, and with my show too, is like put it out on their YouTube channels and all that. Yeah. It's kind of like turn it into a podcast after the fact, as a way to promote the station too. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we're trying to do with the new volunteers too. Is like, hey, like you can come here and speak on the radio, the airwaves, but everything's automatically recorded anyway, so you can turn it into a podcast right away. That
makes more sense nowadays, anyway.
Exactly, yeah, and especially for younger folks who are like 20. Yeah, like. You know, they
want to listen to stuff at their convenience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Gone are the days of waiting for Much Music to play the video, right?
Exactly. Yeah. which is actually, there's a documentary coming out on Much Music, which seems really cool. Yeah. They're bringing that here to St. John to show it off. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
That'll be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Where would they be playing that?
Like, Imperial Theatre.
I wonder if they're doing that in Moncton at all.
I don't know.
I don't think so. I think it's Halifax and St. John.
Oh yeah.
But some VJs are going to be in town too.
No way.
Like, yeah.
When is it?
October 18th.
That'd be cool to come down to.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. I'm supposed to interview like Bill Wilichka and Rick the Temp.
And he's got a book coming out, or it's out.
It's out now, yeah.
So him and Rick the Temp, and who else might be coming?
Everyone else listed, or I think it was before my time, like the late 80s. So it's like Erica M, maybe.
Ah, cool.
Michael something.
Michael Williams.
Michael Williams.
Steve, I bet you Steve Anthony, maybe?
Yeah, Steve Anthony. Yeah. Did he do the Power Hour? Or no, that was Laurie Brown, maybe, or something.
Laurie Brown, and then Teresa Roncon hosted it for a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, Steve Anthony was more just during the day. He didn't really do any specific shows.
Maybe he subbed in once in a while.
He did, because I remember once they'd put like a leather jacket on him to make him look a little more metal.
A little more heavy metal. That's awesome. So I was listening to the new single, Let Her Know.
Yeah.
And so first I want to say, like, anyone who's listening, you did a really great podcast with Rave and Drool a couple years ago.
Yes.
So like you guys, you walked through your entire kind of career and story.
Yeah.
So anyone who kind of wants to get up to speed in that, I would just recommend they go check out that podcast.
It's a great Facebook page too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's episode 1 of that podcast, Rave and Drool.
Was it episode 1?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Which I actually listened to a couple years ago, and then I re-listened to it recently.
Yeah.
So Let Her Know, like when I put that song on, the first thing I heard was like T-Rex, a little T-Rex influence.
Cool.
So is that, and it also, it carries over quite nicely from the first 2 records from, 20 some years ago. Mm-hmm. So was that intentional, or did that just kind of come about?
As far as it sounding like, it could have came from one, I think it's just because, we wrote it, and that's like, that kind of music is just everything to me. That's what I love. I wasn't thinking of T-Rex when I wrote that, but there is a part in it that I could see, and maybe it did come from T-Rex. They're like, there's a little part that goes, like, it's hard to explain, but it's a little thing I got Marco to do.
Yep. Like on an upbeat or something.
Yeah. I can't think of it, but it's a little, and it's very much like Get It On Bang Dong has that little thing. So maybe that is what you're hearing, whatever. But the riff of the song and everything, I think it's just, I was really going, no big surprise. I was going for like an early hiss sort of sound on it. But that's cool that you noticed the little T-Rex thing, because I guess and I know there's a part in it where it does sound like T-Rex.
Yeah, okay.
But still, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I say that because that's one of my wife's favorite bands from that era, and she's like a picky critic, Yeah. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, my wife's going to dig this.
The part where it's like, temperatures right at, Marco's doing this little thing, and it's very Get It On.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so has the writing process been different since? It's been 20 years, so I would like to imagine the writing process has changed maybe, or is it kind of like the same process as it has always been?
I would always come up with the riffs. Me and Derek write the riff, the start of the song, whatever, and then we jam on it. This one was different because I came up with the riff, and I went over to Marco, our other guitar player, went to his house, and I was like, let's write this song. He's like, yeah. It was during COVID. We had during one of the breaks.
Yep.
And I didn't tell the rest of the guys. Me and Marco just did it just to let's see how this goes, see how it sounds, and when we were all done, then we shared it with the guys in our little thread. And so that we've never done it that way. And we've since jammed on it like we traditionally would. But I think going forward, this might be how we do it, is that I'll come up with something and then go to Derek's studio or go to Marco's studio, and we'll sort of figure it out and then jam on it. And because it was really easy and it was really fun for me. I find sometimes if, there's 5 of us, we're all standing around, when we get together, we just want to catch up. We want to talk. We want to tell stories. Mm-hmm. And you don't always get so much stuff done. And sometimes you're just waiting around like, well, do you like this? Do you like this? Do you like this? It's better if we just kind of write it, figure it out. And then after the fact, we all put our 2 cents in. And it's that's how I would like to keep doing it, because I thought the result was really good. And it was more fun for me to do it, just say 2 of us, and then let everybody kind of have their say about it, and if we want to change things and stuff. So
would you send the riff to Ken, or the idea to Ken, and you would lay down drums, or do you lay down a mock drum kit to get the feel down? Or I'm always kind of curious about how that.
I when I'm playing my guitar, I get a riff and I just record it on my voice memos. And like I say, for this one with Marco,
Marco did a drums.
Yeah, Marco. We went in. Me and Marco did the whole demo. Marco played the bass, the drums,
some keys.
Yeah, some keys. I did my guitar and vocals, and Marco actually sang lead on this song too, which was cool. Just in a little section.
Yep.
So yeah, we did it that way. Part of me I'm kind of like, I want Ken to be there when we're doing it, but we had fun doing it this way. And then Ken totally changed it anyways. He changed the drum beat and did put his 2 cents, which was cool. Like I didn't want to write it with just Marco and then that's it. Nobody else has their say. Like it was just sort of an idea. This is the idea of the song.
Yep.
Now we're going to jam on it and figure it out like we used to.
Yeah.
But it was just, I don't know. It was just an easy way to do it, especially with the way COVID was. Like, well, maybe we can't always get together, but do these little, when we get a day or something, or when COVID lets out, we can go over and record a song. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So that makes me wonder, like, this might be a big question, but the recording process, like when you would have done your first album in the 90s, I imagine is wildly different now with how you would record.
Totally.
It's so easy.
It's so easy now, right?
And it's like, back then you pretty much needed a record company to do like a proper album, like kind of like studios were expensive. Like, so we had a record deal, so we were lucky. So, it was thousands and thousands of dollars to make that record. And this one was, thousands and thousands of nothing. Like we just true. Like Derek's got a computer. We got a bunch of really good mics. That's all we needed.
The software, like it's so it's pretty much ready to go.
That's pretty crazy that things have changed that much. I mean, you could, if you were still a band that were, if you were like Taylor Swift, of course, you're still going to go into a big famous studio and spend thousands of dollars with engineers and all that. But I think we did a pretty damn good job with, just Derek's ears and Marco's ears, like sending it back and forth. And then we, got one of Canada's best, I don't know what's
Masters.
Harry he's a mastering engineer. We got him to master it.
That's Harry Hess, right?
Yes. Yeah. And so, Derek, when we got it back, he's like, I put it up, against the new Foo Fighters song and a couple others, like played them all along. And our song, the levels, everything it was just as good. So it's kind of like, that's pretty cool. We're pretty lucky that we're able to do that. I mean, otherwise, like
I think it lends a lot more too to like kind of being not impulsive, but it's like, if we come up with a great song tonight, we could record it. Like there's nothing, or start recording it. Like, we don't have to book a studio. And we don't have to, well, do we have the money for this? It's like, it's all right there.
It can happen
it's
right
convenient.
There. Yeah, we got the setup. We've got the, the ears, the mics. It's all there.
Was that part of the reason why you guys felt inspired to put out a new record or work officially on a full-length record? Is that part of it?
I mean, when I came up with the sort of the song and we did that demo, I was so happy with the demo. I was like, geez, like this, to me, it sounds like the next day, from our last album, where it fits. And I was just so excited. And then when sort of unleashed it to the boys, they were all like super pumped. They were like, holy, this is great. And Derek was like, let's put it out right now. And, I was like, no, you're not even playing on it yet. Like we haven't even, and we did change it up a bit and do some different things. And everybody's kind of wrote different parts and stuff. But that's, I think, everybody was so excited. And so I was like, well, some of us, because of the way things are now, some of us wanted to do let's do singles. And I was really against that because I really want to have an album. Funny enough, now Galaxy just came out on vinyl. That happened after all this. So, now I'm going to have that and then we're going to make a new one. I'm going to have 2 12-inch albums. Like,
cool.
Yeah. That was really for me that I was like, no, I want an album. Yeah. So we compromise a little both ways. Like everybody's on board with doing an album now, but we're also going to, we did the single last couple months ago, whatever. We're going to do another one in another month or whatever.
Yep.
And maybe another one. And then those 3 will go on the album.
Yep.
So I think it's just, we were all so excited with how good the song turned out. And it's like, let's, and then,
kind of reignited the old flame maybe, or I know you guys have been gigging the whole time too. But
506, contact us about playing again at that amazing festival. And like the city of Moncton contact us about opening for Sloan at the big Canada Day thing. So it was just all these cool things happen. And then it just makes us excited to keep it going. Like we have no illusions about making any money or going on tour or any of that. Like we'll definitely play around the Maritimes or wherever anybody wants us to play. But right now it's just about, we're just excited that, that song just is what got us all excited about making an album. So,
cool. Yeah, and it's kind of about that. I think I either read an interview or heard an interview where it's more about that creative pull, like just satisfying yourself doing something creative.
Oh, very much.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that kind of would you say that's the main motivation for this next record?
So. I think I think it's a two-prong approach in that, we've got people like yourself that know about us from 25, 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. But now there's like, people have kids and they're, it's like we've kind of crossed generations. And so it's like, it's just so, like, we're just like, why not? Mm-hmm. Like Steve said, we don't have any illusions about, making money or anything like that. It's just doing it for the love of doing it. Like, we're all like still, we're all living in Moncton. Like, there's no reason why we should. Mm-hmm. It'd be different if like people didn't give a shit. Mm-hmm. But,
But people do. And, like people like Chris, like inviting us to come play a record store. Like that, it means a lot to us that somebody cares enough. And like Ray from 506, he doesn't have to have the Monoxides playing on his main stage with some of Canada's biggest current bands when, we were in that position. Not, we weren't one of the biggest bands, but we were playing those kind of festivals, 20 years ago or whatever it was. Yep. So to have, he doesn't have to have us, but he did. And it means so much that
it's humbling.
People care. And that's what makes it fun for us again. Like, I can't believe I'm here on a weekend in St. John because somebody wants us to play at their store. It's wild.
And do you view it as like, do you have any sort of, I don't want to say responsibility, but do you view it as like passing the torch to a next generation or like trying to inspire younger folks? Like, do you have any memories when you were younger of like seeing some older band or, I mean, you maybe didn't know how old they were technically age-wise, but you're like, it just kind of like ignited the flame. Do you view it that way at all?
I guess we really have yet to see a lot of younger people, getting into us. Like, it still seems like it's, people that just were remembering us. Mm-hmm. Like 506 was cool. We like walking around afterwards, like every 5 minutes there was somebody coming up to me. I'm kind of a bad judge of people's ages sometimes. Like, I don't know how, I feel like they were younger people coming up to us saying how awesome they thought we were and how much they loved us. And so, I mean, that means that's awesome. If there's some young people that are going to get into us, that's amazing. I wouldn't want to just play to, people our age all the time. If there's younger people getting into it, then that's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's weird too, in that like, we've all got kids and like, there's no all ages scene anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, our kids start bands these days, or that we know about. Yeah. And it's not to slight anyone.
You're gonna have
like,
to put the car on.
What's that? Yeah. Like Derek's stepson Michael, like, he has a band, but there's not really like. It's not to say that kids aren't starting bands these days, and Michael's not a kid by any means, but it's very like there's no, like I said, there's no all ages scene. Like my kids have never been to an all ages show. And like, by the time I was like 17 or 18 years old, it's like, that's where we all grew up. Yeah. In that community. It was awesome.
And maybe it's just that we just don't know. Like,
well, so,
maybe there is a scene going on. We're definitely not a part of any scene. We don't feel like we are. Because we don't play that much anymore. And, so I don't even know.
Well, I remember the all ages scene was huge when I was in high school, and kind of really how it formed was me and my buddy were out one day and we just happened to see a band play. I think it was Not Yet Dead. Do you remember them from Hampton?
Yep.
And that, like, we didn't even know local music existed, like we didn't understand in grade 9 or 10 that local bands were even a thing.
Yeah.
And then we became the kids who built the all ages scene. We were like, we're just going to book shows and make people come,
And that, when we were coming up, that's exactly what it was home too.
Yeah.
It was just, million bands. Everybody was into the scene somehow. If you're a photographer or just a fan or making fanzines or whatever, it was like, that whole era when kind of Nirvana came out and there was an explosion of everything.
Yeah.
Bands of all different styles that would all play together all the time. And, I don't feel like it's like that anymore. I mean, it's just things have changed so much. Like, the mall, there's no record store. Well, there's Sunrise, I guess, is there now and stuff. But like, it's just, there used to be 3 record stores in every mall.
Yeah, true.
Everybody carried CDs, and so things have changed a lot. But I
know here in St. John, there's a few younger groups they're forming bands, and the all ages thing is a struggle still. But like, it feels to me like something's frothing up again. That's
encouraging.
That's cool.
That's what I like to think anyway. Yeah. So, and I used to be kind of like, I call myself like a recovering New Brunswick cynic, like I was in that cynical cloud for quite a while.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel that way to me anymore. So
No, that's good.
yeah.
That's good. And like I say, I have a couple kids. My oldest is 14, and he doesn't talk about or know that there's any bands around. So that would be my only sort of connection to younger kids starting bands, and he doesn't know. He's not into that kind of stuff anyway. So I hope that there's a great scene bubbling up. I hope you're right.
Yeah, I hope I'm right too. Because
I'm sure there is. It's not going to go away. Kids love music and love learning instruments.
Well, if you can get them in the room and you can just feel the air moving from the rock and roll, it's one thing to be on YouTube and TikTok and blah, blah, blah. But when you're in the room and people are around you and you can feel the sound
There's
waves,
nothing like it. Like there really isn't.
You can't replicate that.
No. And no amount of YouTube videos will substitute for being at a live show.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can kind of see what it was about, but you have to be there.
Yeah, for sure. And the feeling of being there can override the low fidelity or if something doesn't come across in a recording. But if you're in the room, it just changes everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a special thing. Be at a show, and like 506 was amazing. I watched the Beaches, and they were incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
How'd the re-release come together? That's coming out on record label, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. So Eric met PJ, our bass player, years ago in Newfoundland. And PJ contacted me, I think, in January and said, Eric's looking to maybe reissue Galaxy.
Cool.
Give him a call. So we spoke, and he said, look, I think there's, he basically outlined, he said, I feel there's a good market for, good market and interest for these releases, like ourselves and Wide Mouth Mason. He'd already done like Age of Electric and Limb Lifter.
Okay.
So he talked to us just about doing like a short run, like it's limited to 300 copies.
Yeah.
And it's awesome because it's something like, I'm not a big vinyl collector, but I know it means a lot to Steve and PJ.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that kind of Eric has the know-how and was able to kind of pull it together because
he had talked about it over the, still there's one guy at BMG. Sean. Is he still there?
He retired.
Anyway, we had one connection still at the record company over the years, and he was like, I think I could probably, he sort of pointed us in the direction of how it could maybe happen, like, to get the clearance to do all this stuff, and it never went anywhere, and we just maybe people aren't even interested, I don't know, and this Eric guy just took the reins and really came to us about it, and
cool.
I'm over the moon, back when it came out, I was big vinyl collector then even, but it wasn't an option. It wasn't the record company didn't even say the only bands you might get vinyl of back in 1997, Pearl Jam probably were releasing their albums on vinyl, Rage Against the Machine. But it wasn't a big thing. And so
it was more of a novelty then.
I was going to say,
I remember buying Soundgarden Down on the Upside on vinyl, and they released it a week before the CD or something like that.
Yeah, so and when I say I was collecting vinyl, I was buying all classic, old stuff because that's how I was building so there was no new vinyl I was buying back then, and so this blows my mind. I never ever thought this would be on vinyl. And he did it all. I designed the inside. There's a new inner sleeve for it.
Oh, cool.
Which I had
Nice
to see, but
so you have to bust one open.
It's just mine. I'm so excited and blown away that that finally is. We have now. It was on cassette, it was on CD, and now it's on vinyl.
Now it's on vinyl. That's awesome. It's worth pointing out that in the 90s, that was CDs were totally in control. And some people might even just laugh at you for having vinyl because it was an old person's format.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and you were
exactly.
buying them for 25 cents at garage
I don't think
sales.
I bought any new vinyl ever back then.
Yeah.
There wasn't the option.
You say, the Soundgarden would release it. Whatever. There was the odd band, but none of the bands I was huge into were probably doing it. And And at the time, actually, I was just I'd rather have the CD because I was huge into the booklets and CDs were cool. That was what I wanted. And anyway.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's cool seeing that come back around. And it's nice to have that giant piece of art.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I grew up with, pull it out and read all the
Exactly,
credits.
And that's something I think that's kind of lost. As convenient as digital is, it's you we were the kids that poured over the liner notes. Like, who produced this?
Yeah.
And that's how you got turned on to other bands too. It's like, I saw this guy produce this band. I wonder what they're like, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
this guy engineered this amp.
Yeah.
He also engineered this one.
Yeah.
You know, and he's, this guy's an engineer. He works at a Portland, Maine.
Yeah.
This guy is at a New York City. Like we knew,
Like
Exactly.
you had to connect the dots yourself.
geeky stuff, but we knew all that stuff. Like, you get the producers, engineers, mix, those guys, they get to be as, cool to you as some of the bands are like,
Yeah.
wow,
Oh, yeah.
These guys he was on this album, this album, this album.
Well, sometimes it'll like a year or two go by, like you have 5 or 6 favorite albums you've been listening to, and then you find out they're all produced by the same guy or mixed by the same engineer.
Yeah.
And then you realize, wow, this person's been influencing my taste.
Yes.
And I had zero idea. Like I thought it was all the bands.
Yeah.
And yet they just happen to be working with this person.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
And like Jack Douglas is one for me. He produced like Aerosmith's best albums from the 70s, like was Jack Douglas, and he also worked with like John Lennon, but he also produced Clutch, Elephant Riders.
Cool,
He
yeah.
produced like one of Michael Monroe from Hanoi Rocks, one of his like albums, like maybe 2 albums ago or something.
Okay.
And I started thinking of all these different albums that I really love, and I'm like, wow, Jack Douglas. Like, some people might not know who Jack Douglas is, but that's, it's one of those names you just remember. Cheap Trick, he didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cheap
but I
Trick.
mean, like those guys are as distinctive as, like whoever's producing like an EDM record these days, like, or DJ, you know what I mean? It's like, you have a good idea what you're going to get when you listen to a Jack Douglas record.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Cool. And it also, you might listen to a band that you wouldn't listen to just because that name's attached to it.
Exactly.
And then you discover something that you would never anticipate.
And in another similar sort of way, like, back in the 90s, I remember, like my family used to go to Bangor every year. And back then, you still couldn't get, there was still a lot of imports you couldn't get in like Canada. Like there was a couple Ramones albums. I remember that we had to go to the States to get. You could not get them here. So anyway, we would take trips down there, and it was like, I would look for the Sub Pop logo, just looking through, even if I didn't know the band name, I would look for the Sub Pop logo, and 9 times out of 10, if you took a chance and bought it, you knew it was going to be good because it was on Sub Pop. Just like you're saying, like, Jack Douglas did this, it must be good.
Yep.
This is on Sub Pop, it must be good. And I discovered a ton of bands just by doing that, and they were great. Like Sub Pop had a lot of great bands.
For sure.
So stuff like that is cool.
Yeah. And the algorithm can tune to your personality pretty close, but there's something about like another human being involved in cultivating or like curating what you're listening to.
And I still, like, I'm on Apple Music and I absolutely love it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's great. It's great to have both. But, when it was like just iTunes and you had to go buy the songs, like I was doing that all the time, getting Apple iTunes cards and, I'm going to go buy an album, but nothing. There's no credits. There's no nothing. You got to go.
Yeah, you got to hunt it down.
Check it on Wikipedia or something.
Yeah.
If you
that
can
takes
find
time.
it,
It's like you're listening to it. The record or CD, you've got it right there. And I'm glad that is kind of records have really, really come back, and it's like a special part of the listening process.
For sure.
It is. It's a lot more immersive. Like you get more into it too if you've got to get up and flip the record,
And you got to listen to the whole side usually,
exactly.
right? Yeah,
exactly.
None of this like 45 seconds through the song going, oh wait, this reminds me of this. Let me click and switch over to it.
Oh, that drives me nuts.
Oh,
I don't do that, but when
someone else
and somebody else is in control of the music and they're like skipping in halfway through a song and they skip it. Oh.
You're like, man, you're not even listening, are you? You're not even listening to the song. Cool. So the new record. So is that in the can, or is it still being
no, we're
worked
still
on?
we're basically, we kind of were waiting sort of for the summer to be done because we've had a few shows and a few different things to do.
Yeah.
Me and Ken play in a Rolling Stones band as well.
Cool.
So that's been taking up time too. But so basically after today, we don't really have anything planned.
No.
So it's going to be, all right, let's start doing some more of these demos and jamming and getting the songs going. We've got tons of riffs, and there's been a few songs that we've sort of messed around on a little bit, but there's nothing in the can, nothing all that. But this is the idea. We've got the one, and the second song is done. We just have to record, take a weekend to record it, which that'll be quick.
That'll be the next single?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it along the same vibes, do you think? Like, have you...
Yeah, it's actually an old song that we wrote after Galaxy of Stooges, the first batch of new songs that we wrote, I think.
Okay, cool.
And it was just one that kind of slipped through the cracks. It's one of my favorite songs that we've ever written. It was fairly poppy, and the album after Galaxy
wasn't pop.
As it got going, I kind of wanted the album to be a little heavier, and I didn't want so many catchy, like a little bit of Rosie sort of songs. Even though now when I listen to it, there are like most of the songs are pretty catchy, but just we were looking at a heavier sort of vibe. Yeah. So that one got left off, and it's just like, why should we just leave it? Like, it's not going to be, the album's not going to be a collection of like a bunch of old songs, but this one in particular, it has to go out because I think it's one of the best songs. It just always disappointed me over the years. I was like, this song is so good. Yeah. Not, being cocky, but it felt so good, and it was so fun to play. Cool. And I was just always so disappointed that it's just like,
I've likened it to like I've told some people it's our "I want you to want me" moment. Okay. Like it, what that song did for Cheap Trick. I'm not saying that it's gonna, make us hugely popular as much as it's just a great pop song.
It deserves a proper release. And like people have heard it. We've done other recordings that we've played it live, but we just it's time for that one to finally get a proper, like, over the years I was just, and over the years sometimes I started thinking that, well, the band is just going to keep fading more and more away. Like people are going to less interested. People aren't going to remember us. And I was like, that song probably, I posted on Facebook a few times. I was like, well, here's a song that we wrote. I don't think anybody will, but as time goes on, certain little things start coming back. People start inviting us to do shows. People get interested again. And so now it's going to have a proper release. So the plan is to have 10 songs for this thing. Okay, cool. I want it to be like, in the 70s, it was, a good album was 10 songs. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't like listening to the album that's got 15, 16, 17 songs. Like, I grew up with 10 songs, 5 songs per side, and that's what I want this to be. So cool. That's the aim. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Rather leave people wanting more than kind of thinking like, is this done yet?
Yeah, exactly.
I remember at one point it started passing the 10 songs and people started doing 12, and it's like, okay, cool. And then, 13, 14, and it's like, just keep it short. Let's do 10.
Yeah. So I think that's a good compliment when someone says, like, I wish there was more.
Yes,
I wish they would have played longer.
And it's like, if they want more after that, then, if there's interest, we'll do it again.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I got kind of a different question. I find kind of like, I'm like big into psychology or whatever, but has anyone in the band tried to like walk away from music ever? Like, did anyone ever get like jaded and tried to like push music completely out of their life and then come back to the band after the fact?
No.
That's never happened.
There was Derek stepped away from the band for about a year and a half, but he was working for Matthew Good. Mm-hmm. So you can't even argue that he was like,
there was times over the years it got depressing, like I say, when, you think nobody's ever going to care again, or, maybe people don't even want to come see us if we do a show. And there was maybe a couple of years I didn't want to play Monoxide shows anymore because we weren't doing anything new. And I felt that, why do we got to do this once a year and just play the same old songs? I don't want to do this. So there was maybe 1 or 2 years where we didn't do a show at all. Mm-hmm. But
it's always been a part of the
PJ and Derek had another band going. I've had one other band I was in for a little bit, and I don't know, but it's just cool. We never ever stepped away. Like, I guess Ken would be the one that probably played the least, maybe, which is funny because when we get together and practice, he's got the hardest job, and you wouldn't even know that if we went a year without playing, he'd sit down and he's like on fire. Mm-hmm. He thinks, he's like, I'm probably going to suck. No, you don't suck. You're like the tightest one of all of us after not having, it's the hardest thing you can't, I'm just going to go play drums in my house. Well, by yourself, that's not fun. And it's loud and but he sits down and boom. So it's
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually PJ and Derek's band Iron Giant, they were one of my earlier influences when I was like 16 or 17. Mm-hmm. Them and the Ditch Pigs, actually. Moncton was really influential, actually. The Courage of Being and Hemlock, I think.
And Chris and I were talking about that earlier. He said, I don't know if bands from Moncton know kind of the influence they had on folks even down here. And it's like, well, it's humbling to hear, but when you're in the midst of it, you don't really see outside that circle, kind of thing.
Yeah, St. John, we never really had much of a relationship here. We opened for Rusty one time. Yeah, we played with Voivod one time.
Oh, cool.
We opened for Our Lady Peace at Harbor Station, actually, which is pretty cool and kind of
Yeah, I might have been there actually.
Yeah. And we played down on the waterfront at like a farmer's market or something.
Yeah,
What was that?
like right in 2000.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that's pretty much it for St. John.
Yeah. We've never,
So
considering how close we are, we've never spent a lot of time here.
Okay.
And it's cool that it's like I'm feeling like St. John is like more special than anywhere else right now, because we've done this 506 thing twice. We got a lot of respect down here. Like Chris, he could have got anybody to come play at his show, and he asked us.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So,
and there's a bunch of new venues popping up here too.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I want to keep coming down here, keep the momentum going. So we never had that down in St. John. Like, there's so many people saw us at 506 there a couple weeks ago. Like, surely if we played somewhere, we'll get a few of those. Like,
sure.
So let's hopefully we'll keep that momentum going. It's just another place to come play, right? So,
yeah, cool.
Hopefully.
And I find Moncton, so I grew up in Sussex, so that's where like I remember booking Hope and like Marco's other band.
Yeah.
And so that Moncton sound, like I've always found Moncton has kind of a sound to it. Like I don't really know, like an example would be Diner Drugs. You must know those younger guys, I guess. Yeah. But I put on their new EP and I was like Moncton for sure. Like if I
find they've got a very Iron Giant vibe to them. I find the riffs are kind of like in that sort of style. And those guys have been around for a long time.
For a long time now. Yeah.
We got this big communal jam space in Moncton. Like,
okay, cool.
We're not there, but we have been over the years. Iron Giant were there, and Diner Drugs were always there as they were growing up playing and all that stuff. So I think they absorbed a lot of the Iron Giant thing. They would play with Iron Giant quite a bit.
Cool.
And so,
are there any other Moncton bands or any seedlings you see kind of bubbling up, or is it?
It's like we said earlier. Like I'm out of the loop. I
aside from like the Motor League. Like, I don't know who else.
I know there's Diner Drugs. And
yeah, exactly.
I know, like, Zero's Bar, like there's the place where there are up-and-coming bands playing, but...
Yeah, I see a lot of shows
unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time and, like, get to be our age and stuff. Like,
real
I don't
life.
really want to go out late at night to a bar to watch a band so much anymore. Like, that's kind of horrible, but I guess it's just where we're at. But
it's totally normal. Oh, yeah.
The last band I saw was the Hypochondriacs. They played there.
They're good.
And they were incredible. They blew my mind. I was like, wow, I had never seen them. So it's every now and again I do take a chance and go out and see something. But as far as knowing who there is in Moncton, I don't know.
Yeah, cool.
Me either.
Well, that'll be a challenge to anyone listening. If you're up and coming band, reach out.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys. I mean, we're going to be doing some shows. It'd be great to have some. I know we got a buddy of ours home has a new band, and like Jason O'Reilly, like it'd be cool to have them play with us maybe or something. But aside from that, who we'd ask.
Yeah,
I think there's a good opportunity now for that mentorship to pass. Like even Frig Dancer, they're older folks too. Like really. I mean, I'm almost 40 now, so it's a good opportunity to kind of like mentor or like find a way to pass it on to the next group of kids somehow. Like find a way to get that all.
This is a perfect way here. Free show at a cool record store.
Yep.
Like that's a great way to do it.
Absolutely. Cool. So I guess we'll look out for your new record next year, 2024. Yep.
New single. Probably later 24 than earlier. I guess, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, for sure. And the new single when that's out, just fire like that's how you reached out to me at the radio station, and we'll give
hopefully
that
that'll be done within the next month. I don't see why we can't.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else you want to shout out before we go take in the music? Sounds like Frig Dancer is getting going there.
Yeah. No. Just thank you to everybody in St. John for being so cool the last few years to us.
Well, thanks for coming to town too, because the more people that come to St. John, the better, I think.
Yeah.
Honestly, St. John has become one of my favorite places growing up. Like I say, we'd go to Bangor and we'd drive through here. It'd be always rainy, always cloudy, always stinky. And the last few times I've been here, I'm like, oh crap, I love the city. It's so beautiful to see the buildings in you guys call it Uptown, right?
Uptown, that's right. Yeah.
Moncton's got nothing. Moncton tore down all our cool old buildings.
Like all those buildings down by the Area 506 Container Village are beautiful. Like the architecture.
St. John is doing it right. Like it's a killer city now.
Yeah, cool. Anytime you want to come back and even like you could even do a set at the radio station, I bet. But anytime you want to come back, we can sit down, chat it up. Yeah,
awesome.
Cool. Sweet. Awesome. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you too.
No problem.